Let's see what kind of hand I have. Anyway, get all that. Salutations to you who have come across, or perhaps have returned to this channel of InVain Site. As an introduction or reminder, I am the odd magician, Solar. That's the malevolent. You hear them? They show up right when they want to disrupt. They're not very subtle. Anyway, I am the odd magician, Solar, not to be confused with the odd magician, Lunar, who is much more melancholy and makes significantly less appearances in the channel. Now that I have clarified that relatively unimportant matter, let us proceed with what is relative at this time. What is relative is the reason for my presence, of being the focus of this video, or as is often described by others here at InVain Site, an electronic, visual, audio, social media message. My purpose for my appearance at this time is to provide further clarification and reason for certain aspects of the videos published to this channel. Yes, some description has been provided in the channel description section of this channel, which conveys the message mostly that Mr. Vane has an appreciation for creating and utilizing costumes in some manner. For further details on that, I suggest you read the channel description. Now, in addition to all that, there was a previous video created which featured the Spectre Skeleton trance. That gave an explanation, or at least a partial explanation, for certain types of videos found on this channel, which typically feature a presence known as not just anybody. The explanation provided in that video, however, does not quite present the overall and complete picture, so to speak. That all being the situation to where we find ourselves, it was concluded that I should expand upon these previously created explanations. First and foremost, the channel description about Mr. Vane's connection and use of costumes, as well as the associated personality developments for the costumes and the subject categories that prevail throughout the various videos published to this channel, is an accurate yet incomplete description. Incomplete in large part due to the limitations of character count allowances in the description. That is, the limit of how many letters, numbers, symbols, or words in general can be used in the description. So, rather than try to cram in more info that provides less explanation, I will add to those details verbally. Oh, I should also inform you that although Trance has provided video content information in his own video, I will be covering much of the same details here and more. Most of the additional information I wish to convey is directly related to the videos which feature not just anybody, since the rest of the videos provided here tend to be self-explanatory and feature either myself, occasionally Lunar, most predominantly the Spectre Skeleton's trance, purpose, as well as appearances by Mr. Vane himself, sometimes the demonized elf Krins, or perhaps some other costume incarnation concocted by Mr. Vane, like the Exile Vane, whatever that is. Let's move on, and back to not just anybody. A lot of the reasoning behind the videos created of not just anybody has more to do with Mr. Vane's fascination and experimentation with movement, lighting, some costuming, and post-production effects editing. To put it simply, not just anybody videos are usually the results of experimentational concepts imagined and created by Mr. Vane. Now, you may notice in many of these videos, not just anybody utilizing headphones. The headphones are to typically inspire or coordinate the movements of not just anybody, but they are more so to limit the possibility of copyright claim complications. So, that being the case, with not just anybody videos that contain little to no sound, InVain Site suggests that you provide your own choice of song to play along with the video to see how well the music and perhaps lyrics of your chosen song match up to the actions of not just anybody. The results sometimes can be quite humorous, if not surprisingly fascinating. Now, another common element of these experimentational videos is the use of various objects such as swords, sabers, axe, dagger, staff, or a wand. And on a further note to this, you may notice that the deception wand has the most frequency of use. Simple reason for this being that the space used for the initial video recordings is quite limited. An area, therefore, the deception wand is the most practical of the objects that are typically used. Lastly, on this, I will address the often limited costuming material that is worn by not just anybody. This is done for a few reasons as well. One, as to be able to identify the presence in the video to being not just anybody, as opposed to the complete actual presence of the personality character being who is typically represented by the limited pieces that may adorn not just anybody in these experimental videos. Two, to provide a base of consistency between the various videos for reference and comparison in relation to lighting and motion effects results. And the third final reason being that not just anybody is of the mind and person that is of the name being that of Vane. So, what less would anyone expect? I do hope these explanations have provided a better understanding of the reasoning behind some of the more bizarre aspects of InVain Site, with particular relation to not just anybody. Once again, I am the odd magician, Sola, for InVain Site, who reminds all not to be a minion. As for myself, I leave you with this. Time comes when it sees